Hey, what's up guys, June here. In today's video, we're going over the week of January 24th, 2022. This week finished with +7 stops. So let's see what happened. First trade we got here is a short in the Russell. So at the moment, the Russell is going down and this is the confirmed swing. And I saw this as a press in progress, right? Where we have a single move down. It does one little swing, comes back, like a very subtle swing, and continues to expand forward. Unfortunately, I got high ticked. I was looking at a right side entry based on a big swap of this level with potentially a stop behind here. However, what ended up happening, it did a double breakout, a very small boom, boom, and it failed to go. It failed to go right away, that is. It did reach a new low. However, it did not achieve all the way down. So overall, the idea did not work out. It did make a new low relative to this pivot or this swing low or this lower low. It went about right here and then returned back. So this one didn't work out. One thing to note or to pay attention to in the future is whether or not there's something to break, something to fall into for the double breakout works. Does it have to be quick, or can we allow a sort of very early selling pressure to get stopped out and then return to this area? Whatever the case may be, I'm just going to pay attention to that. I'm going to continue taking the trades as is, and we'll see going forward. So that's the Russell trade. Next up, we have another Russell trade. This one is okay, a bit further. This was the 24th. I'm not too sure what this is relative to. Anyways, another day. This is the current swing. It was playing these reds, and I was paying attention to this POC. So this immediate POC level on the 20-minute. I started taking pictures of the 20-minute levels that I'm looking at, so we'll see that in future charts. However, it started doing this blue swing. So this took precedent. I saw this as an expansion. Ideally, I was seeing, well, will this POC hold? It could have been a bit higher too, this POC. Remember, it's just an estimate. Wherever buyers and sellers show up, well, that's where they show up. So to me, this wasn't a wash or it didn't break back in. It was something that was coming back to retest. If we take this rectangle, arguably this is where the actual POC is. Nevertheless, there was an immediate flow to the upside, came back down, tried to go higher, came lower, some break, some fall into. It tried, and tried again, and did not fail. One thing to note is perhaps I can start taking exits on the third swing failure. However, I'm not too sure about that right now because I generally like playing a swing, leaving the stop as is, and seeing if the trade works out. So over time, we'll see if that type of management is ideal. I don't like it when it comes up and stalls. I'm definitely not going to take an exit on there. It has to be 3 distinct 1, 2, 3 attempts to go in the direction of the trade. If not, take a graceful exit. We'll see over time, but for now, just something to know. I'm not going to really write it down. It's something in my head. Right. So now we have the Russell going long. We have what is a confirmed swing. So it popped up here. It did its swing. It grew a bit more. Did it here. Expand. And then we kind of have a 1-2 wave pullback. Kind of drifting. Where we're wondering, well, is it going to repeat the frequency? At this point, we're thinking, oh, okay, maybe not. Because it's going bang, goes up. Bang, goes up. Bang, drifting. Something's up. What ended up happening, we have a big clump, like a big expansion, this nice gap. So I'm looking for this to swap, for this to be the right side entry. In fact, it came up here. We had some initial sellers again. They got swapped. I was looking to enter on a pullback on the swap of this level or the swap of this gap. Did not happen. Still willing to play it over here based on a bigger idea with a stop behind where really the expansion episode came to an end. Unfortunately, it did not come back to fill me and continued on to the upside. It didn't go as fast as its frequency suggested. However, it did make it made a significant high. Maybe it went around here. Anyways, nothing I can do about this trade. All right, so now we have the ES. So this was an interesting trade. In fact, throughout the week, the market has been pretty crazy. The moves have been rather sparse with their continuation. So it would go in one direction, comes back, retest, and that's it. And then we'll do some other frequency for a while, rotate back up. You really got to take their profits really quickly in these markets, as it seems. Anyways, we have a confirmed swing. This blue leg repeated a few times. Decide, okay, the expansion, it's coming back up to the POC or somewhere near it. And what did it do? 1, 2-wave pullback. Stopped doing that. And I was willing to buy maybe some here, something along the one line balance. However, a stop behind the absolute high, it's too expensive for my account. So I looked for the right side entry. What I ended up doing is I considered this to be one move. We have a little swing, right? Boom, swing high in the immediate on the orange leg up. We have an immediate swing and it broke it, came back. So this is a very subtle pullback. I did have a good enough stop. I survived it by a handful of ticks, but goes to show for this type of entry, we really want to give it as much room as possible. There are some times where it comes back perfectly here and then discontinues. There are times where it comes a bit ahead and continues. And there's other times where it comes to violate this pivot and likes to poke it. So that's why a stop with a bit of room, a bit of noise is good to take and and manage it like so. I considered the market was continuing to go down. However, given the market volatility and how it likes to switch frequencies a lot, taking profits here was more than good enough. Arguably could take profits as soon as this bar hit, as soon as this really big bar bounce. I was looking more for a graceful exit much lower down the lows. However, there is a viable kill zone here. Not necessarily going to hold the market. I consider this a possible bounce and comes back somewhere up to here, then continues lower. However, given the risk reward already on the table, I don't want to give that all back. Indeed, my stop was right here, would have got stopped out. This drifted, and then from this point on, it did eventually continue lower. So very interesting. The target or the expansion idea, I really expected a continuation, which it did give it. However, given the risk reward, I locked in profits, and that was that. Okay, so what happened here? So this is the MES again. The market was flirting with this 20-minute POC. This was the second time, I believe. Yeah, this was the second time it poked out, and I was looking for some continuation. I was looking for a right side entry as this was a bit high on the swing to take it blindly. Also, there was no stop. If I were to put the stop behind here, well, it's not really a double breakout because it's coming really far back, opposed to this guy measuring this frequency. It's coming really where the potential, no, at this point, the kill zone is, right? So for it to reach a bit higher, it's not breaking out the frequency all too much, right? It's like, it's maybe a third more of the swing. So it's not breaking frequency all too much. Whereas something like this guy going long here and putting a stop down here, it's already pretty far down. It might not be exactly what we're looking for. So based on that, failed to break out. I was looking short. Arguably, there was a trade here. I just didn't take it. I wasn't really not paying attention, but I was a bit more reserved, quite a bit more reserved in these markets this week, which is a good thing rather than a bad thing. Anyways, continued lower, and I declared this as a minor into major idea, kind of an expansion of the minor into major. So that's why I took the short. However, the right side entry was a little fast. Like, did it really break it? It did break it, but given the context of the swing, like look how big this is. And I was looking at this guy too because it bounced, came back. However, this bounce isn't super significant relative to the entire swing. A little fast, but it's okay. That is what it is. I took the trade and it didn't work out. I did continue forward. I don't recall if it continued forward. It might have. Maybe, I think it continued around here, then rotated back up. Again, these markets tend to move once, does some other frequency for a bit that is not related to the previous swings, and then rotates back in. So it's a little rough. All right. Oh no, this is the second time it broke out. So this is the first time it broke out of the 20-minute. This is the next time it did. So as I know, it cleared the 20-minute. In fact, what ended up happening, this was the FOMC. I saw this as, oh, it tried and really failed. So I'm looking for a rotation back down based on the failure to produce anything higher. I looked at this was the last swing broke, right? This swing achieved and it broke. So this is the last swing to achieve, last swing broke. Wasn't really, I wasn't willing to short it right here because it's too far from the last swing. And this is more of a momentum idea, or rather this is gap swap. So I kind of have to wait till it comes back. Anyways, some break, some fall into. Looking for right side entry because there wasn't really any stops that I could afford, meaning I can't just leave a left side entry right here with a stop behind this guy. Way too big of a stop for my account. So waiting for right side entry. What ended up happening? Comes up, boom, subtle swing. Similar to the previous one, it did gap quite a bit lower. Stop. It was lucky. Pretty lucky that the trade survived. One thing I could have done, I could have probably based it on here, because this was the overall trade that I was paying attention to this gap for the right side entry, right? So backside, look, it repeated it perfectly. So more of a subtle swing than anything. Entry a bit higher. Now look at this reaction off this level. So that's the point, right? Is there as much of spacing in here? No, but it did clear this bounce quite a bit, and this bounce is pretty significant. Like, it retraced pretty far up, whereas this guy, look at this bounce, right? So in isolation over here, this quick slam through this pivot is similar to the previous one. However, the full picture, the bounce is not that significant, right? Boom, here's the pivot, zoom through it, perfect, very similar. However, the bounce relative to what we're looking for, relative to previous buyers, it's much more significant. Thus, the right side entry, much better. Anyways, I was looking to take it to a measured move somewhere down here. This was the approximate POC zone or previous immediate POC. It was a gap. So measured move, more than enough risk reward. Unfortunately, it did not play out as expected. I did note that I was willing to hold through a deeper pullback even before I took the trade. So I was willing to, play it. Ended up with what is essentially a break even, plus 1/4. If I were to play a stop here, possible. However, again, still willing to play a deeper pullback. It did not work out. Oh well. And even leaving my stop up here, I would have got stopped out. So that was the trade. All right, so over here we do have some 20-minute POC. This was what I was working with. We have gap, gap down. Most of the orders are somewhere in this vicinity. We're coming up, we're bouncing. This is the immediate POC level. So against counter direction, I don't regard it the same way I do as the official POC or the POC with direction. This is the POC against overall direction. And at this point here, it's just range bound. So anything above here, we're willing to short. So that's the idea. And this was the gap I was talking about. I was looking for a rotation back down, and based on the frequency, I was willing to target a measured move. So that's the difference. The difference is these POC levels are just directions, right? Oh, the price could go to here. All right, we're not looking to trade through a POC level. We're looking to base our targets and stops overall flow with the frequency of our trading time frame. But the POC levels are really just for direction. So, or they're more borders. You know, we don't want to break through them. We don't want to call them, that type of thing. Maybe there's going to be a time and a place to call it, but for now, no. All right, so now we have another ES trade. This was pretty much at the top. So we're back up here. In fact, oh, do we have it? Yeah. So it didn't end up going all the way back down, right? Whoosh. Look at that. Zoom, retest, comes back, and it's holding. At this point here, we're definitely POC range. So this is a really good example of what I was just talking about, how the POC or the 20-minute chart, it's just giving overall boundaries of what I can and can't do. So it just filters and overall sentiment. So at this point, we're range bound, right? In range bound markets, we're not looking to hold very long. Take profits pretty early. So we can write that down. POC range, take profits early. So over here, if we're doing shorts, or vice versa, if it's going like this but to the upside, we can hold our shorts no problem. We can follow the market. But over here, look how messy it is in the range. Some people would say stay away from here. However, if we compare the 20-minute to what I'm trading now, the tick chart, which is I'm trading a 500 tick chart, akin to a 1 minute or even a 30-second. There are going to be trades in between. So I can get away with it, just accept the frequency or play with the frequency. And this is a good example. So over here, we're pretty much at the top. What are we doing? We're doing these blue swings. Okay, fine. The market's pretty wavy, pretty orderly. What ends up happening? It expands. I notice this is a momentum. At first, I was like, okay, well, I'm looking for shorts. Well, if I short here, keep going down. However, I zoomed out, I'm like, what's the market doing? It's swinging really big, really largely with these blue. And knowing how, or maybe not knowing, but observing how the market tends to move, where it does push trade, and then it expands, and then expand continue or expand reverse. In this case, I was looking for expand continue. So what ended up happening, I saw this gap, boom, like, okay, interesting. At this point, I'm thinking, well, maybe I missed the boat. Maybe I should have shorted it, whatever. For me, there's no entry to short it, so it doesn't matter. However, what ended up happening, boom, came back up, gap swap. For me, that's a right side entry, or that's a reversal pattern for possible right side entry, given correct context. To me, there was no real stop in here. Some down here just didn't make any sense. I mean, is it this pivot? Is it that pivot? I don't know. So I was willing to take a right side entry, and that's what ended up happening. All right, this is one move, comes up, pops it, comes back down. I have my stop behind here. Wasn't willing to shorten the trade right away. So when this comes to the top, don't reduce risk right away. This is counter-directional to this, overall directional to the context of the market. And I was looking to play it for the try. Now, overall, this is an expand reversal idea. Why expand reversal? If we go back to the POC, this is what I'm talking about. I'm respecting this overall top level, this top range. I'm not looking to push through it. Could it go a bit more, somewhere up here? It could. However, that is significant. Sellers are stepping down. Let's respect it. And here we have a bit more of a smaller time, a bit more of a zoomed in look. And I just played it up. There's stop, target right here into the try area. And lo and behold, it rotated back down exactly from this area. It played around a bit, but then went down. Right now, I'm looking towards how to take advantage of that. Beforehand, I was just thinking expand, continue, and that's it, that's all. However, expand reverses or expand reversal, now that's becoming more and more of an option. We're going to be looking over the coming months and coming weeks how exactly to take advantage of that. For now, I'm trying to find the balance between waiting for enough structure and not taking it too early, because we don't want to call it, right? We don't want to just blindly short it right here. We're looking a bit more of a right side entry necessarily, since it's a counter trend idea. We would want as much of a stop as possible. Also, we don't want to be too late into the movement, because if it reaches down here, well, we already missed the boat, because we're already considering expand reversal. We don't want to be waiting for this pivot to be broken, because it could just fall apart all the way down here. And that's what it did. Interesting stuff. And lastly, we have some trades in the NQ. So for this one, the range was up here. And then do note that there is some space. All right, if we were to compare it to the ES, it's already at the top, pretty much. Here, for me, I argue that there's still enough spacing to the top. So I decide to continue this overall momentum. We have the blue swing coming in, all right, coming in. I have a press in progress, or just a standard idea. Look, it's returning to these kill zones, came back to a minor kill zone, came back to the official kill zone, some breaks, some falling to. This was really the pivot that said, we're going to the upside now, and it came back in. Didn't work out. I thought about it here. I thought I missed the boat, but I continued just briefly and stopped out, and it's rotated back down. So sellers came a bit early. And I was aiming for a measured move, seeing how we're pretty close to the all-time high already. Or the POC range. So we're already pretty high up. So just a minor measured move was good enough. Already this is a 4, maybe 4.25 to 1 trade. And that's it. And that brings us back to the start. So this week, pretty good. Some trades didn't work out as planned, but overall entries, I like. Ideas for one of them maybe was there, but the right side entry wasn't there. Nothing I could do about that. This one, shame it didn't go to target. Perhaps the lesson here is to take profits relatively early. However, I was aiming all the way down here and was willing to take a deeper pullback. It didn't even look twice either. It just went zoom. Thought about it coming down here, but at least I didn't lose money on this trade, so that was pretty nice. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed. Till next week, adios.